Hello, and thank you for joining us for another interview for school committee. There is a municipal election happening on May 17th, and the woman across from me, Erin Williams, is running for school committee. Now, Erin has been serving on school committee, but she is not technically an incumbent, and she is not listed so on the ballot, but perhaps she can spread a little bit more light on that as we get into our discussion. Erin Williams, welcome to Policy Beast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So what you are running for school committee.
I am.
And you have been sitting on school committee.
Yes, since July of last year.
But you're technically not an incumbent and you're not listed as such on the ballot.
Correct.
So how does this work?
It's because I wasn't elected by the people. I was appointed by the school committee or technically by the school committee and the selectmen together. They made the decision. So there was an election last year. Someone was elected uncontested to the seat, realized there was conflict of interest with being on the board, stepped down, and so the board held interviews, and there were 3 of us, and the selectmen and the school committee chose me to serve. And so I was sworn in, and I've been serving since July of 2015. But because I wasn't elected by the people, I'm not listed as the incumbent on the ballot.
So this is the first time you're running for this particular office?
Yes, it's my first time running as me for office. You know, we ran Phil last year for selectman, so now it's my turn.
And Phil Williams is your husband,
yes.
who ran for selectman last year.
Yeah.
So very politically active family in town. So since we started talking about your family, why don't we talk a little bit about you, Erin Williams? Who are you and why are you running for school committee?
Sure. Well, I'm a nearly lifelong a resident of Ashland, save for the 4 years I was at Holy Cross and 2 years for my job where it took me around the southeast of the United States, and we realized when we were living in Georgia, nope, got to go back north and got to go home. So yeah, I mean, I'm very invested in the community. I'm raising 2 little boys here. My husband works for the town, and you know, there's a lot of choices. I know a lot of people who have moved that I graduated with that specifically didn't choose Ashland for some various reasons. But I love this town, and my dad is still here. Mm-hmm. And when we moved back at the time, my mom, was still alive, and we found a place a mile from them, and it just felt great. And now I love my house, and I love my neighbors, and all the girlfriends that I'm making, mom friends and whatnot. And it feels like home, and I don't ever want to leave. And so if I'm gonna invest my money and my soul and my time into something, this is kind of how Phil and I operate. We put it into political life.
Ashland through and through.
Yeah, blue tide pride all the way.
Okay, so specifically, why do you want to, you've been on school committee, but why do you want to continue serving the town on school committee?
So when I joined school committee, I had like a vague idea of what you did. And then you get in there and you go, oh, this is what I really do. And you're part of crafting the vision for the school. So, you're working side by side with the superintendent, making his blueprint for continuous improvement, which I'm a black belt in Six Sigma quality in my real life job. Mm-hmm. And so when I hear words like blueprint for continuous improvement, like bells and whistles go off in my head. I'm like, that's somebody who's looking for progress. That is someone who's looking towards the future and trying to make actionable change. And so we're a part of that and crafting how our district is going to grow, what our policies are, how progressive we're going to be. And there's been little nuggets along the way of wow, I'm really impacting something and I want to keep this going. And so we can, go into detail if you want on some of those things, but I just felt like it's not only is it really meaningful in what I'm giving the town, but the people that it's exposed me to, my fellow colleagues on school committee and other members of the town, we all tend to be of the same sort of breed of very politically involved, very intelligent, and you end up being friends with your colleagues, and that's a really nice way to kind of grow your circle. And I'm a working mom, and sometimes it's hard to make friends when you're a working mom and you feel sort of isolated.
I know the feeling.
You know that. And so you get involved in this life, and so it just kind of opens doors, and it's like you all feel like you're working towards a common goal, and it's just kind of, I feel like it's rounding me out as well. And it's And I get a benefit too. My job, I don't work in a very competitive workplace. People are pretty collaborative. There's not a lot of like work backstabbing or anything like that. And then when you're in political life, you have to learn how to like soften your edges. And I'm a type of person, I kind of shoot from the hip.
Okay.
And I tend to be very passionate. And then you have to learn, like there's multiple types of personalities. There's multiple ways people are going to take what you say. So you got to kind of like craft yourself a little bit more carefully. And I think that's also a part of maturity, and where I would be one of the younger members serving. Like I feel like I get a benefit from serving in how it helps polish me as well. So.
When you said you joined school committee, you said you were surprised that you thought it was going to be one thing, but it ended up being kind of different. Could you tell me a little bit about some of the issues that you actually didn't really anticipate tackling when you were sworn into school committee, and how did you work with your colleagues to work through them?
Well, so one of the things that happened was each person on the school committee usually serves on some sort of subcommittee or a school site council. And so I volunteered to be on the safety committee. And sadly enough, we are in a time where you have to prepare for active shooters and bomb threats. And that has been one of the most fulfilling things about serving on school committee. Ashland's plans for emergency preparedness are some of the top in the state, besides the city of Boston, to where when our police take them to regional events and to conferences, other towns are asking for our leadership and helping them craft similar plans for them. So to realize that I'm impacting how safe our children could be on a very terrible day, and knowing that we are prepared and we're ready to go.
We hope will never come, but
right, we hope it'll never come. But even the work that we're doing, we recently had a bomb threat called into the high school, and we had essentially a practice drill, and we did great. And knowing that that subcommittee is part of the bigger idea of we are prepared and we are going to take care of this, and we're not going to be caught, so to speak, with our pants down.
Right.
So I have really loved that. And then when you get into issues such as school start time, for example, you're getting into science and you're getting into policy that's going to be at like a national level, but then you're deciding, are you going to be the district that kind of puts your neck out there and moves forward with something that's sometimes not very popular, because it can be very difficult for parents who want to be with their kids and see them off to school, but maybe they have a job in the city. They're not going to stick around to send their kid off until 8:15 or 8:30. But scientifically, when you look at the body of evidence, it's the right thing physiologically to do for our adolescents to have them start later. So it's those sort of things where it's like really a really interesting mix of how we craft our policy that I've really enjoyed. And we'll get the packet the week before the meeting, and you're reading through things, and then you're here, the subcommittees that are giving their recommendations to you, they're giving you their research. It's just opening up a lot of, it's just opening up my eyes a lot to the different issues our kids have, and then trying to make the best decision for them.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't mention probably the number one issue that everyone in town is talking about before the May 17th election.
Was there something big going on?
There might be something happening that may impact the schools and public safety. I, of course, refer to the proposed override.
Yes.
What, in your opinion, are some of the risks and benefits associated with implementing this override? Do we need this override? Is this something that you support? Why or why not?
So I was one of the 2 school committee members that served on the override study committee. And so that was members of the tri-board, selectmen, school committee, FinCom, plus town management, plus our school administration. And so I got to really, really dig into the details. And for background, I'm a finance manager for General Electric. I have been for almost 13 years. And I'm also an auditor and a quality manager. So I have an eye for I can tell when a budget's inflated. I can tell when costs are being hidden in certain places. And I will tell you, I scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed, and I was asking level 2, level 3, level 4 questions of both the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, and the town manager about line items on the budget, or about why this, and this. And what I can tell you is they have scraped the bottom of the barrel, and if we don't do this, we are at a grave risk for negative changes in our town. So
just to focus in on the schools for a moment, what are the risks associated with not implementing this override at this time?
Okay, so a couple of examples. The physics textbooks that are at the high school, I know physics doesn't change much, but the physics textbooks that we use are from 1995, when I was in 8th grade.
Okay, so there's somebody in school right now who could conceivably be using the same book that you used.
Yeah, except I didn't take physics.
Okay, just to be clear.
No. One AP Bio.
Okay, okay.
But yeah, that's the thing. So, and I'm going to tell you this from the perspective of having attended Ashland High School. When I went, there were electives that we could select from that helped us choose our path. And I like to tell this story because I was very artistic in high school, even though I'm like this big nerd. I was really big into art. I actually ran into my art teacher tonight at Kelly's. And so I had art classes, and then I took architecture, and I learned how to build. And I cannot tell you how many times Mr. Farrell's architecture class has come in handy in my life. I have built-ins in my house, whether it's the banquette in my dining room or the bench in the front hallway. I built that because of the skills I learned in an elective at Ashland High School. We have very few electives now. We're not broadening the horizons of our students and helping them figure out what path they want to take. Ashland's very good at the standard education of like reading, writing, and arithmetic, but we're not good at offering a host of electives that can help broaden kids' horizons, or maybe even help them decide what major they want to go into college, especially when you compare us to some of our neighboring towns, like specifically Holliston. They just blow us out of the water when it comes to electives. And so
I'm going to take the devil's advocate position on that. So, you know, some might say that sounds wonderful. Like, who doesn't want our kids to be able to be exposed to these sort of things? It clearly has benefited a lot of people. But, you know, Erin, you're not a carpenter. But yet you acquired these skills. This is kind of non-essential for what you're doing right now professionally. Why should we invest the time, money, and energy into building all these extras around? You know, if we just give the kids the basics, won't they just find their own way to wherever they need to go? I mean, that's all they need to go to college, right? Is that?
But think how many thousands of dollars I would have spent to have some carpenter come in and do what I did, right? Plus, the benefit of having the skills and the skill set of like teaching my children, like, here's how you fix things at your house. And here's how you can, I mean, I've saved the designs that I drew out to show them later in life, to show them I'm using geometry here, and I'm using my architecture skills here, and this is how it's all coming together. And I get what you're saying, believe me. But I do think there's a benefit, like, we can't box in every kid. And I was the type of kid that needed lots of different outlets for my energy, and having art, I mean, this is back in the days of black and white photography, and we had film, you know? We had a dark room.
Dark rooms, yeah.
I mean, I was talking to my art teacher tonight about how the art school budget for supplies now is less than it was in 1985. And as far as the art budget, we're only talking about, I think, adding half a teacher in the art for arts. But there's a lot in the override that's more based on social emotional well-being, which is really, I would say, the big pull for me for running for re-election, or not re-election, but running again to serve.
Running to serve, yeah.
You know, national statistics show 1 in 6 children has a food allergy, asthma, ADHD, autism, sensory processing disorder, and then you add on top of those 1 in 6 children who are children of addicts, children of divorce. There's all different ways that life situations can impact a child's ability to access the curriculum. And having, and so people understand this. Imagine you have an anaphylactic food allergy. You're going to be, and what science shows is that you're going to tend to be a little anxious, sometimes about your own safety in school, even if you're sitting, say, at like a peanut-free table. And those worries may cloud your day while you're trying to learn. You know, if you're at a snack table and your friend 2 seats down is eating peanut butter crackers, you may there's just different things kids have to deal with.
Right.
So, like Warren School, we have a group called Banana Splits. It's for kids that are children of divorce.
Oh.
And we have another group for kids who are being raised by their grandparents. We have social emotional pullout groups, mindfulness M&Ms, mindfulness and meditation, for our kids that need to get out that extra energy. Children are different than they were 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and we need to support them and not try to box them in, because if we all reflect back on the kids that we tried to box in when we were all going into school, let's think of where they are now. Are they succeeding or are they not? I know, just based on like simply looking at Facebook, the kids that were boxed in are not doing well. And we need to make education accessible to everyone. And that means not necessarily teaching the same way or giving each child the same sort of supports.
Erin, we're coming up on time, actually. It's been sort of a
Goodness.
short visit with the Policy Beast this time around. But as we're leading into the election on May 17th, and I've been asking all of the folks who've been coming in for our special election edition, there's one question. Why should we vote for you?
Well, I hope people know that my heart's in the right place. That I went into school committee thinking it was one way, and the time commitment is a lot more, and it's a lot more of a brain commitment than kind of what I initially believed. It takes me away from my family. You know, I got 2 little boys at home, and to know that I'm willing to do this and say to those boys, I'm sorry I have to leave you, but I'm doing this to make our town better. My little 7-year-old has said, Mom, but our town's good. And then so then I had to like explain, like, well, no, honey, like here, and like I want to make it better for you. So when you get to Ashland High School, you have some electives that I had, like, but you know, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think it was the right thing. And I hope that people think I'm the right person for the job. You know, I've been super involved since I've been on the committee, and I just would like to continue that.
We're going to leave it there, Erin.
Okay.
We've been speaking with Erin Williams. She is running for school committee on May 17th. Thank you very much, Erin, for coming in and talking with us on Policy Beast this evening. And thank you for joining us. Please remember to get out and vote on May 17th during the municipal election. Again, thanks again for joining us. Take care. We'd love to hear from you here at Policy Beast, and there are a lot of ways to get in touch with us. You can follow us on Twitter at Policy Beast TV. We have a Facebook fan page. Look us up on Facebook. You can also email us at policybeasttv@gmail.com. So many ways to get in touch, and we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to hear about any kind of show ideas or any kind of topics